Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. According to historical scholars, in 1382, the 15th year of the Hongwu reign during the Ming Dynasty, Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang officially established the Jinyiwei, which had its origins as the Zhuwansi. Initially, the Jinyiwei was a small department with fewer than 2,000 members. But over time it grew and eventually became a massive organization with 150,000 personnel. Almost the size of a military force. The members of the Jinyiwei were loyal elites, sworn to serve the emperor with their lives. They wore splendid brocade garments, exuded mystery and authority, and became the staunchest defenders of imperial power. Although the Jinyiwei started with a small number of members, it gradually became more powerful as time passed. According to some older court officials, each member of the Jinyiwei was highly skilled, having undergone rigorous training. They vigilantly guarded the palace and, upon detecting any abnormal situation, would react swiftly to ensure the emperor's safety. As Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang was on his deathbed, he advised his successor, the prince who would ascend the throne, to treat the Jinyiwei well and remain wary of treacherous officials in the court. This demonstrated his great emphasis on the role of the Jinyiwei in protecting imperial authority. Subsequently, most of the Ming emperors continued this tradition and supported the expansion and development of the Jinyiwei. When Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang founded the Jinyiwei, he assigned it three main duties: first, to protect the security of the imperial court; second, to gather intelligence and apprehend criminals; and third, to manage the so-called imperial prison, which operated directly under the emperor's command, allowing arrests and even executions without going through regular judicial procedures. It can be said that the Jinyiwei had an extremely close relationship with imperial power. They were directly responsible to the emperor and essentially served as the emperor's blade and shield. In the early days, the Jinyiwei had to strictly follow the emperor's orders and could not abuse their power recklessly. One of the Jinyiwei's most important duties was intelligence gathering. To acquire information, they would often disguise themselves as commoners and infiltrate the population, collecting various reports and movements, which were then relayed to the emperor. It is said that the Jinyiwei spies were everywhere, and even the most secret conversations would not escape their ears. They possessed more insider information than all the court officials combined. The Jinyiwei also frequently carried out secret missions at night. On one occasion, the emperor suspected a high-ranking minister of conspiring with border tribes to rebel and sent the Jinyiwei to investigate. The Jinyiwei secretly infiltrated the minister's residence at night and eventually uncovered evidence of the plot. Without the bravery and loyalty of the Jinyiwei, the emperor might have fallen victim to a conspiracy. However, over time, the Jinyiwei's power gradually expanded and became increasingly corrupt. By the reign of Emperor Xuanzong, Zhu Jianshan, the Jinyiwei had nearly all judicial powers, allowing them to execute people without court trials. During this time, first execute, then report, became a hallmark of the Jinyiwei. The expansion of the Jinyiwei's power caused concern among many officials. They feared that the Jinyiwei might become more powerful than the emperor himself, disrupting the normal operation of the court. However, limiting the Jinyiwei's power proved difficult because they directly answered to the emperor, and no other officials had the power to intervene or restrain them. As a result, to balance the power of the Jinyiwei, some emperors established the Eastern Depot, Dongchang. The Eastern Depot had similar functions to the Jinyiwei, also responsible for intelligence gathering. And sometimes the two organizations cooperated or acted as checks on one another. This allowed the emperor to manage these two secret organizations and prevent them from threatening imperial power. Some emperors even used the Jinyiwei as a tool for eliminating political enemies. For example, after Emperor Yongle, Zhu Di, seized the throne in the Jingnan campaign, he used the Jinyiwei to eliminate a large number of old officials loyal to the late Emperor Hongwu, which caused resentment among these officials against the new emperor. The Jinyiwei often played a key role in the emperor's political power struggles, helping eliminate rivals in the court. By the middle of the Ming Dynasty, the Jinyui's power had surpassed that of the Eastern Depot and had become an uncontrollable, ferocious tiger, even disregarding members of the royal family. For example, once, when the Empress Dowager fell ill and sent a physician to treat her, this physician had offended a powerful court official. The official reported the doctor for allegedly plotting to harm the empress. The Jinyui immediately apprehended the doctor and tortured him severely, nearly to death. Upon learning of this, the Empress Dowager was furious and personally intervened to save the physician's life. This incident led the Empress Dowager to harbor resentment toward the Jinyui for many years. She even sarcastically remarked, "I've lived so long and seen such absurd things happen." This shows that the Jinyui's power had grown so great that it dared to challenge even the royal family and could almost act with impunity. Officials and commoners alike feared the Jinyui because they represented the emperor's authority. And no one dared to provoke them. The rumors surrounding the Jinyui grew increasingly exaggerated. Some said they could become invisible or eavesdrop on others' conversations. Others said they carried swords and could execute criminals at will. Some even believed that the Jinyui had attained immortality and could predict the future. These rumors only heightened the fear among the common people, who dreaded offending them and bringing about their own demise. In foreign affairs, the Jinyui also played an important role. During the Ming Dynasty's wars with Japan, the Jinyui provided a wealth of intelligence on the Japanese forces, helping the Ming army understand the enemy's deployments and supply lines. This intelligence was crucial in aiding the Ming army's victory over the Japanese forces. It can be said that the Jinyui, Imperial Guards, made significant contributions to the Ming Dynasty's defense against external threats. Domestically, they were also involved in suppressing multiple rebellions. For example, during the early Ming period, in the cases of Hu Weiyong and Lanyu, the Jinyui used strong tactics to successfully eliminate their power and eradicate their supporters, numbering more than 40,000. Thanks to this loyal secret police force, the Ming emperors were able to consolidate their power and suppress opposing forces in their infancy. Without the support of the Jinyui, imperial authority might have struggled to maintain stability. As such, the Jinyui became an essential tool for the Ming dynasty in responding to various crises. However, the glory was short-lived. By the end of the Ming dynasty, the Jinyui had gradually declined and ultimately became a subsidiary of the Dongchang, Eastern Depot. Despite this, the Jinyui's numbers continued to grow. Historical records state that when the Jinyui was first established, it only had around 1,500 members. Even at its peak, it numbered no more than 5,000. However, by the end of the Ming dynasty, after becoming a subordinate force under the Dongchang, the Jinyui's numbers skyrocketed to 150,000. This was no longer just a small secret police force, it had grown large enough to almost form a complete field army. It is worth noting that during the decisive battle between the Ming and Qing forces at Shanhai Pass, both sides had around 200,000 troops. So, with such a vast force at its disposal, why did the Jinyui fail to make an impact? In 1644, when Li Zicheng captured Beijing and the Ming dynasty fell, the Jinyui was divided into three groups, each fighting separately. The first group, these were the most loyal members, who remained with Emperor Chongzhen until the very end. When Beijing fell, only a few dozen of these Jinyui soldiers remained. They charged to the front, swearing to protect the emperor, and ultimately perished in battle. These individuals embodied the most authentic spirit of the Jinyui. Although history was inevitable in its course, their loyalty and courage led them to a heroic sacrifice, becoming a poignant regret in history. The second group, this group of Jinyui defected before Li Zicheng's forces entered Beijing. They even funded the uprising with 30,000 taels of silver, and later surrendered to the Qing dynasty. They completely betrayed the spirit of the Jinyui and became a shame for the Ming dynasty. Such individuals had no loyalty, and history has condemned them with contempt. The third group, This group took a different path. They gave up resistance and instead contacted the Ming royal family, supporting their relocation to the south. They attempted to establish a new regime in the south, known as the Southern Ming. This faction of the Jinyiwei fought alongside the Southern Ming court against the Qing dynasty until the fall of the Southern Ming. In 1661, when Emperor Yongle of the Southern Ming, Zhu Yulang, died in Burma, the Southern Ming was completely destroyed. Afterward, the Qing dynasty renamed the Jinyiwei to Lunyui, Imperial Guard of Ceremonial Equipment, and from that point on, the name Jinyiwei disappeared forever. Established in 1382 and with a history spanning nearly 300 years, the Jinyiwei finally faded from the historical stage. Some historians have commented that the rise and fall of the Jinyiwei reflects the cyclical patterns of feudal dynasties. Initially, as a strong assistant to the emperor, it helped consolidate imperial power, but as power expanded and became corrupted, the Jinyiwei grew arrogant and tyrannical, ultimately leading to its demise. We should not evaluate the Jinyiwei in a one-sided manner, but instead, understand the deeper logic and changes of history. The fall of the Ming dynasty marked the end of an era and paved the way for the rise of the Qing dynasty. History relentlessly moves forward, and every revolution and every decline provides an opportunity for the brilliance of the next era. Although the Jinyiwei has become a part of history, the turbulent times it experienced have long since turned into legend, becoming an important symbol for us as we look back at the past over time. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.